Can we make it a simpler one?
Oh.
What's a good simple
You
twist?
can just do a Sukhasana twist, or like
Johnny
Johnny
Shirshasana.
Shirshasana.
What do you want to do? You want to do
I
Sukhasana twist? Ouch.
Yeah, I mean,
Oh,
I just,
yes.
I guess, I hate being the center of attention.
Great. Okay,
Hi, Judna.
what do we want in a twist?
Not too long.
To not do them.
No. We want to lengthen the spine.
Which part?
Well, it depends on the twist, kind of, but
Really?
no, I mean the whole spine.
The front of the spine.
Same
thing. Well, like again, like twists come from thoracic, basically like front of the spine extension, right? The more you can extend the spine, the more you can get around the little spinous processes, you can get some room to twist. So one thing is the extension. What else do we want to do in twists? Rotation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
From the belly though, not from the above the navel or at the navel, not from the neck.
Cool. Yeah. Actually, that is a good point. You will hear like if you turn your head, you'll go there. That is true, but I don't think that's the best way to get there. I'm a big believer in keeping your gaze, your nose, wherever your breastbone is pointing. It's not to say that you can't, that it is bad for you to take your head further than your ribcage is going. But what I see a lot is people taking their head there in lieu of taking their ribcage there.
Yeah.
So again, we get back to this idea of like, first you have to see what's happening. Generalizing is the worst thing you can do as a teacher. And generally, what happens is people turn their heads and they don't turn their you should lead it with the chest and then let this other stuff kind of ripple its way out. I don't know. All right, so we want length and we want rotation. What else do we need though?
Stable.
Cool. Yeah, we stabilize. So the other thing to say, and we sort of glossed over this with down dog, is first you find what you can stabilize, so that they feel comfortable continuing to experience a movement. So, great. So let's do a little twist. Rock it out.
I'll give you a drishti.
I love that.
So I'm going to ask you to look where your breastbone is going.
Okay.
Yeah. So that didn't diminish the twist in the spine at all. Now, it might, if you only go to where your breastbone goes, you could maybe have more. But in this instance, like her turning back didn't take her out of any twist. But the first thing we need is length. So the first thing we need is stability. And then after we've got stability, we need length. So one thing I like to do is go foot to sacrum. And that could just be as like a moment, that could just be like, hey, I'm here. It could also be some downward pressure, which will give a little bit of stability and length.
I want to see what.
Yeah, come around. So foot, sacrum.
Oh, that's
boom.
not what I pictured. Cool, I like that.
You can stay over here if you want to. You don't have to run away. Ooh, okay, here we go. And then here we go. I'm going to take my hand behind the base of the rib cage and my other hand at the shoulder. In twists, we might be tempted to manipulate the arm. It's easier to get to the arm, but if you manipulate the arm, you're manipulating a big old lever. You want to be back at the center, back where like stuff, starts. The other thing I'll say too is you could also do, and I wanted to change my mind. You could also do knee to sacrum. That works too. Okay, so then we're going to go at the base of the ribs, and then we're going to go in and up. In and up. We can even support even more. Like, see, I can get my arm here into my body to go in and right. And then...
Jenna, you're 4 feet taller.
Where are you looking?
I'm not sorry. I was watching you. Adjust me.
And
Look away.
but the majority of this twist that's happening is actually here in my left hand, giving the in. This is just encouragement. This is just like, I got you. You're not yanked. It's the same thing. Like a twist needs to happen from the belly, from the inside. You want to twist the other way?
Yeah.
Actually, can we do a different twist than
Yeah,
that?
I can do any other twist you want.
Let's do like a revolved crescent.
Now she's interested.
Now.
Like, yeah,
I'm not into it, but
I will twist
a
whatever the
revolved
fuck you want me to
crescent.
twist.
Yeah.
So that's what's forward. Okay. So now here's the. Go get it again. Come on. For a second. Face that way.
And fan kick.
So give me this action
Oh, you want like a knee down situation?
for a moment.
Yeah, okay.
Is that cool? Take a knee. Okay, so where do we need to get stability from here?
Inner thighs.
Inner thighs. Yeah, legs, inner thighs, pelvis. So when you turn on, so like a little mechanics real quick. When you turn on adductors, or those ones that try to drag your legs together, it makes your pelvic, so part of that is pelvic floor doming up a little bit. When you do that and engage your abdominal canister, what happens is the organs, so your organs are in something called your peritoneal sac, right? Which is this non-compressible sac. It's all of your good stuff is in, all the viscera is in there. You cannot, so this idea of like, by the way, twist, wring out your organs is like some of the stupidest shit ever. It's not compressible. So it doesn't work that way. Energetically, you're sad? So what does happen is you engage the pelvic floor, it domes up, much like your diaphragm, they work in tandem. That compresses, that tries to squeeze your peritoneal sac, but it's like a water balloon. So just like you squeeze the bottom of a water balloon, it pushes up. So that squeezing engages here, pushes up, lifts your rib cage up, creates thoracic spine extension, which then gives you more room to twist. So the first thing we need to do is turn on the pelvic floor, is turn on the actual adductors and the legs.
And here I thought that Bondas were mild vultures.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, here Bondas. So here, well, this is not what I'm here to teach at all. But I will say this: Bondas are the energetic repercussion of that physicality. Yeah. So Bondas are not a physical thing. You can't find them physically in your body. They're the energetic repercussion of that behavior. Okay. So tuck your toes under. Sorry, your right toes under. Okay, great. So now how I'm going to help her do that is I'm going to grab a hold of this leg right here. And I'm going to attempt to pull it backwards, and she's going to resist me. There we go. Then, already, that little bit of work gave her a little bit of extension.
It's true.
Now, hinge forward, palms together. However you want to twist, I actually don't care. Whatever you want to do. Boom. Now, the more I pull back on this leg, the more I want you to pull forward. Yes! So nice. Now, her left butt is going to come back.
Leave.
Alright, we're good.
You good?
I'm just on the side of the mat.
Oh, then get where you want to
No,
be.
we're fine. I'm
Okay.
a trooper here. We're on
No,
it.
listen, calm down for a second. I don't need you to suffer through nothing. I want you to feel like well situated. Organize
Yoga
yourself.
isn't suffering? Oh, okay.
It's not.
Life is.
No, I'm going to argue. He said life is ephemeral. Life is change. Suffering is the choice.
That's a fair take.
He said whatever. Okay, yeah. Place your feet wherever you want them.
Okay, cool.
I mean, not wherever. Don't kick me.
I promise I will not kick you.
I mean, whatever. I'll take it. Okay, squeeze. So here I'm like squeezing, and then I use my own like hip hinge to pull back. Y'all see that? It's like you can't see it, but you can see it. Boom. Okay, now you twist. And then what we can do here is first encourage the left butt, yes, to come back. And then we go long. Now what I like to do here is it looks like I can have the room. Say, okay, I'm gonna come in here. And I would say that in class. You can put your hands back together, that's fine. You don't have to make any giant adjustments. But if I wanted to go in there, I could say that. I could also do it from the outside. This is fine too. But I'm a big fan of, if we're having a good time, sneaking in there, grab it, right? And then I pull back, and then this hand is doing the same thing this back hand was doing last time. Forward, my legs are pulling back, and we have room.
I love this.
Yes, Joe.
Okay,
Crazy. I also thought I was gonna fall the whole time.
well, so there's two good things that.
So I will say, like, not that it wasn't great. I'm saying I literally did feel like I'm gonna fall. Oh, wait.
Fall which way?
Forward, for sure.
Because you were pulling so hard forward?
Yeah.
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 That's
there
fair.
was an element of that. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
no hate, but I was just like,
No, that's fine. So
it's a
what I
battle
would
of thigh wills right now, and I might win.
A battle of thigh wills.
you're like I'm gonna beat him. I'm gonna beat him. I'm gonna get like out of there.
Yeah.
He said foot by foot, wherever I
So, like, how do you counteract that, not losing?
Well, so here's what I will say. In this instance, you were not at actual risk for falling.
Okay.
It would, but I know, but like I was asking you like to go really outside of something that you do.
Yeah.
So I would say like I also wouldn't. I will. So here's three things I would say. First is that's a pretty intricate, in-depth adjustment that I wouldn't go and do on someone I didn't know. Except for an environment like this where we're having the conversations, I would not walk into a class and do that on someone that I didn't have some physical relationship with. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So do you want to come back and do another?
Yep.
Case? That's the first thing I'll say. And either whatever twist you want to do. Yeah, that style, but left or right, I don't care.
Balance it out, right?
Yeah.
Obviously.
So, yeah, go for it, rock it out, come in with. So what I might do if it's someone I didn't know at all, is I would come and do a much more stable version of it. I would do the same, like, hip here, boom. So I would, all the same stuff, but
That was my favorite part.
no, I like it too. But if we're talking about someone who I had never really had a relationship with, I might come that, if this one, I could still even say like, I'm gonna get that arm in there, boom, boom, boom. All of that I can do. And I feel like this does feel more stable to you. That first one is a big ask, especially if we're like new, and if I'm going into someone who if you had your knee down and you didn't have your leg up, and I was like, hey, you person I don't know, tuck your toes under, lift your knee up, let's try this. That's a pretty, I'm asking you to come really far with me. And I probably wouldn't do that to somebody in a random environment. The big first statement. My second statement is, then what you also need to do is you gotta be really attentive to your entrances and your exits. And what should happen first is, if my goal there was only to take care of you and be with you in that moment, I probably should have backed off. Because I could feel that you didn't feel comfortable. In this instance, my goal was to show some stuff and do it, and so that I kind of gave up on probably the prime directive in order to get to the second thing. So I never want someone to feel like I'm gonna fall. I never want to create that feeling. So if it was doing what I should be doing as a teacher in a class, I probably wouldn't go as far. But then I say your entrances and your exits can help make that feel better. So if you come in, here, is this your manager?
Yeah.
Can we do something real quick?
You can.
Great. Do the same twist. Do the same.